injured here, 1v1, Calderis Refinery, blue side. It's Knoif Juggler, awesome name, plays a Warboss, a melee commander that can walk through objects, very good offense, disruption and support from the front lines, and eternal anger. Red side, it's Dullahan as a Hive Tyrant, very durable commander, walks through objects and cannot be suppressed, so good offense, disruption and support, begins in melee with a basic synapse. So big heavyweight commanders supported by a bunch of melee, it looks like. We've got Knoif Juggler with double sluggers up and Dullahan with double Hormagaunts. So this could be awesomely fun with seismic roar and spiky armor and stomps going off. Some awesome big melee fights, though they might not all meet in tier 1. It might be tier 2 before we see that kind of thing. Knoif Juggler can back it up, of course, with War Truck Weird Boy tier 2, which is an awesome tier 2 and sets you up quite nicely. Much like the Zoanthrope Tyrant Guard tier 2 that Tyranids can do, which is under 100 power and adds absolutely no bleed. You either lose them or you don't. Sets you up for tier 3 quite nicely. Hormagaunts moving all the way up to grab Knoif Juggler's power. Has those single shooters, you can get the big shooter on these guys, and I assume when he sees double Hormagaunts, he's going to do that to get that on-demand suppression, then lead the line with his Warboss, get that stomp off. If you can get that stomp, you've got to think he's going to win the engagement. Just follow up with your sluggers and murder the Hormagaunts that you just stomped on. Dullahan, of course, will have Toxin Saxon here. They are on the way. Can use it to cripple that Warboss, I assume is what he's going to cripple, because it doesn't want him to be able to choose when he's going to use that stomp. That's just a special attack right there. Spore Mines caught some sluggers and they're forced to retreat. Good pressure here from Dullahan. Spore Mines making a massive difference early on. Warboss, though, going to town on some Hormagaunts, used his stomp, and there's some sluggers catching the rest in retreats. Don't think he's going to take him out. No, got away with 5 models, slightly lucky to do so. Now the Warboss is going after the Spore Mines. They're getting a detonate, but not take a model off the sluggers. Oh, they're still there, though. They can still detonate. There's another detonation, and now the Hormagaunts trying to chase down these sluggers. There's so much damage. They do get away, though, and now the Warboss is in a bit of trouble. Breaks an entire fuel container, 2 of them even. Hormagaunts trying to take him out, and they do so. So he's going to need to repurchase this immediately and get some looters on the way. Raveners for Dullahan it is. Are we going to see that improved synapse? We might see it. Going to really help him in those big Hormagaunt slugger fights. Did not expect it to kick off that early with a big engagement. I thought we'd see them all spread out, capping and stuff, but I think it was those Hormagaunts pushing through to that power up there that made Knoif Juggler engage. Here comes some more Hormagaunts. The Hive Tyrant is there. 1080 hit points on this guy. At default, he is the toughest commander in the game with 80 more hit points than the Chaos Lord and the Brother Captain and stuff. And 200 odd more than the Warboss, right? No, Warboss has got 920 now, that's right. Warboss can become a hell of a lot tougher, though, with that heavy armor. Hive Tyrant is going to go down on retreat to the sluggers. There we go. And Raveners at the moment in their melee stance. You saw Dullahan do a burrow strike. I think that was to try and save the Hive Tyrant as he was retreating, but he needed to live that long in the first place, and he did not. Here are the looters with a death gun to suppress enemy infantry and also do huge amounts of damage when it gets close. It fires that gun in these kind of comedic little bursts. Delivers a lot of damage in the burst, unlike other setup teams with suppression weapons that tend to fire long bursts. Here we go. What has he targeted with it? Oh, he couldn't really target anything. Hormagaunts getting in there with a bit of a leap. And they do get a model off those guys. Look how they run away. What is going on? Just turned his back around. Very strange. 492 to 388. More sluggers on the way for Knoif Juggler. He lost a squad. And you always get more, of course. He needs that choppiness. Raveners still with their melee weapons. They do have power melee and some decent specials. They kind of flick themselves upwards with their talons raised and knock you flying. Really quick animation on that. Sluggers using War. There's the Ravener Burrow Strike. Sluggers are there, and here comes the Warboss. No sign of any war gear for this guy. Can have fantastic passive support with the Boss Pole and the Bang Bang Hammer, and also, of course, those fantastic Warboss Globals. Here we see Odd Boys allowing those Sluggers to really stand up to 2 squads there, basically. Shame he lost those Sluggers. I didn't actually see where the heck he lost them. How did I miss that? Is this them? They just got chased down, I think, while I was looking at those looters. There's that crippling poison on the Warboss, who goes for Angry Bits. So he's going to use that to initiate, so his Sluggers can follow in. Gives him, I think it gives him a damage buff as well as the health regen, of course. I think it still does give the damage buff. Does it tell me here? Increasing his damage by 35%. That's not a small amount. Speed by 1.5 also after the charge. And a bunch of health regen. It really is a fantastic accessory, but he's going to go down regardless. You have burners on one of the Sluggers, the others without burners right now. They do get away. But do the others? Knoif Juggler. Yes, he does get away. Looter's doing a lot of damage to the Hive Tyrant. Can he keep all of that stuff suppressed? No, he can't, because the Raveners Burrow Strike in and force off the Shooter Boys. They attack really slowly, Raveners. It's a bit odd when you see the Ravener Alpha in particular, who can get some really cool melee loadouts. And you see him attack super slowly. I mean, when you look at the Hive Tyrant, you think this would be the guy that would attack super slowly, but he actually attacks incredibly quickly with his talons, and the Ravener does these big wind-up kind of 2 taloned hits for 9384. Warboss almost level 2. What about the Hive Tyrant? He's into level 2 and has the warp field. That will allow him to tank damage, especially from the looters. Help him get close. You notice he did not go for the extended carapace because he has that Ravener Brood there. Warboss now hits level 2, taking out some Hormagaunts, uses Odd Boys on himself, giving him that flat 25% damage resistance to all damage. In retail, I believe it's 50%, maybe 40%, but it only affects melee, I think. One of the early changes for Elite. And it's tier 2 for Dullahan. He's going to hit it before Knoif Juggler even begins. And as you can see from his resources, it was that extra Slugger purchase that he needed to replace that has kept him from teching here. These guys do have burners. These guys do not have burners. Halfway through level 1, looters are covering the power. And I don't think it's going to be enough because the Hive Tyrant is just flanking you right now, Mr. Looter. Got a little bit too close to these Hormagaunts. What is the Hive Tyrant up to? Oh, he's going to just decap. Brood Nest in the middle. Here come the Raveners. Oh, they've got the enhanced muscle coil. Increases their speed by 1. Allows them to burrow indefinitely. Something, personally, I very rarely get because I usually use my Raveners in ranged combat. Although the +1 speed is always pretty useful. Oh, looters are wiped out there by double Hormagaunts. One of them with adrenal glands jumping all over him. Into leap into melee. The synapse is what allows them to jump over stuff. Triple cap here for Dullahan as Knoif Juggler goes into tier 2. Having lost his Sluggers, I guess he wants a Weird Boy as quickly as possible. Dullahan already has the Venom Brood up to stop that War Truck that he thinks is going to show up. But now he's seen it, I guess he's not going to get the War Truck. I think Weird Boy and Pain Boy would be pretty cool. Slugger's running into a whole bunch of trouble. That's double Hormagaunts on retreat. And Venom Brood, who can do decent job in melee, but they don't force melee combat there. Another Brood Nest is up. Brood Nests are awesome. Is this one still around as well? It is. What are we going to see from the Knoif Juggler? Still the best name ever. Hive Tyrant taking hits. Warp field up. Able to tank long enough to cap that wreck point. That is annoying. And the Warboss is queuing up his Power Claw. 150 wreck, 50 power for around about 90. I think it's 95 heavy melee DPS. We'll see when he gets it. Pretty sure that's right. Big swings, so massive melee burst damage. And we get Genie Stealers on the way for Dullahan. Awesome. He might drop warriors in for the adrenal glands. He needs I think it's 175 red, or is it 150? Either way, doesn't have enough. Could get the improved synapse also to help those guys out. There's that power claw. It is 95 heavy melee DPS. Is it going to take... I think it takes a Hormigaunt out every swing, but it does swing very slowly. Just massive chunks of damage coming off that thing. Gene Stealer's hitting the field. And they will do a fantastic job against the Sluggers. Uh-oh, there's User Choppers on the Warboss, improving his damage by, I think it's 35%, and giving him a massive 60, plus 60 melee skill. So basically means you can never be a victim of a special attack, and you're gonna get loads of special attacks. So it's just there to make sure you win that melee fight. Ravener Brood backing away. Warboss continues to be incredibly angry, charging through a bunch of termagants, taking out models every swing there. Goes after the Venom Brood, needs to try and track down those Synapse creatures. Odd Boys now wears off, and there are Gene Stealers, and Gene Stealers are melee superiority all the way through. These guys have 80 melee skill, huge amounts of power melee damage, and a self buff, the Adrenal Rush, which improves their damage and speed, I believe, while also self healing. They're like the ultimate melee superiority, and if you get melee Synapse going, they are pretty much unstoppable. I think they can solo a level 1 Nob squad if they have melee Synapse. Even if the Nobs use their Frenzy, they just have so much melee skill with the melee Synapse that they're knocking them all over the place and doing huge amounts of damage, obviously, with that power melee. These Raveners are... No, they're not stuck. They're alright. They're just hanging out underground. You can sometimes get them stuck underground if you do a burrow strike on an area that they, for whatever reason, cannot come up in, such as a drop pod landing at that exact moment, which has happened to me. They will not burrow strike up. You need to wait for the cooldown, use burrow strike again, and then they'll pop up. But these guys are actually legit just hanging out underground, and there it is, the muscle coil. Disrupted the Warboss, then took one look at his power claw and ran away. 247 to 384. Is that a stomp? No, that was just a special attack, I think. It was. Superbly timed. There's a capillary tower. Hormigaunt's off the field. I don't think this is a good engagement for Dullahan. Gene Stealers are where? Are they off the field as well? I think they are. Weird Boy with the Warp Vomit. That could make a massive difference in these engagements. That's an 8-second area of effect stun that you don't need to worry about friendly firing. You do need to worry about friendly firing his basic attack though. Just did a massive hit on those Sluggers. Gonna need to be careful with that. Maybe target the Termagants as he is doing, and those Venom Brood, and keep your Sluggers separated. Hive Tyrant doing a good job, it seems. Level 3 with his default weapon, which does, I can't remember how much it does. It's one of the most powerful default melee weapons. I think only second to the Lictor Alpha, but he's going for Rending Talons now. These are 75 DPS melee with Seismic Roar. Will it come up in time to make an impact on this engagement? Gene Stealer's going straight after the Weird Boy, but he's saved with a really good Now I'm Angry charge. Nicely done by Knoif Juggler. There's a Brood Nest up. Just so much pressure. The Hive Tyrant is the king of it in this kind of situation, when you're kind of making the enemy come out to a singular area. Get that Brood Nest up. It's so difficult to push you off. Warboss going to town on some Raveners though. Smack gets another model. Odd Boys and User Choppers. Oh, good grief. Took out those Gene Stealers with a special attack. That was amazing. And it wasn't the stompy special attack. It was like he just threw his arms up. I guess that's maybe specific to the Power Claw. That was amazing. That did a big chunk of damage with User Choppers active. Gene Stealers are taken out by the Warboss. I bet he got a big chunk of XP for that. Here's a Tyrant Guard though. This guy doesn't mess around. Around about the same damage as the Warboss, I guess. But he attacks much quicker, but he's going to go down so quickly. That's insane. This Warboss is kicking some serious ass. Sluggers now in amongst the Hormagaunts. I cannot believe that Gene Stealer wipe. That was amazing. But Dullahan keeps the pressure up. Yet another Brood Nest. How many are on the field right now? 3. I think he lost one that was there. I'm not sure how much XP you get for taking down Brood Nest. I don't think it's a huge amount. We see some Sluggers capping over on this west side, leveling up. We'll probably know that with the amount of pressure on his natural. Sluggers hit level 2. And a war truck it is from Knoif Juggler. The Venom Brood are still around, and these guys do so much damage. And can they throw on a move? I think. Can they? I think they can. We'll see. The Hive Tyrant can't with his Venom Cannon. I want to see the Seismic Roar. Did he use it? I don't think he did. So Gene Stealer's down and Tyrant Guard down. So much for melee superiority for the Tyranids. They are getting creamed in melee. This Warboss has a hell of a lot to do with it. Now he has spiky armor too. Air of effect piercing damage on hit. On hit to the Warboss, that is. And gives him a big chunk of health and health regen. Raveners now with ranged weapons. They're Devourers. 22 DPS piercing. They of course keep access to their enhanced muscle coil. And double Hormogaunts with Endless Swarm up to 10 models each. 37 to 384. Good grief, I haven't even noticed the VP counter. Knoif Juggler is getting very, very low on VPs. Zone Thrope on the way now for Dullahan. Looks like he's given up on melee superiority and is gonna start shooting stuff at range. Level 3 sluggers, level 2 sluggers, incredibly scary anti-melee Warboss with the spiky armor. And you can see why. War Truck thinks about getting the extra armor, but then decides against it. The mid is turning blue, so it's going to be a 2-1 for Knoif Juggler. So he's going to stop that VP countdown for now. He's down to 22 VPs, and that is not a lot. If he gets forced off once, that might be the end of the game. Because Dullahan can cap mid and send a Hormagaunt forward to decap this, get a double, and that might be enough. Ravener's now getting those shots in, but he wants to try and tie things up first. Here's that Hive Tyrant. Trying to bait out the Seismic Roar there, I think, is Knoif Juggler charges in. Oh, we saw the Focus Warp Blast on the Warboss's face there, which does knock back. And a fair amount of damage, I think. Hive Tyrant goes down. Just lost track of him there. Really good Warp Vomit. Here comes some sluggers in from the eastern flank. Hive Tyrant is down. That was a big Synapse backlash as well. Hormogaunts are wiping those big shots from the Weird Boy though, and Hormogaunts are wiped. That was a bad engagement for Dullahan. You saw how much work the Warboss did there. Yeah, he sent his Hive Tyrant in a bit too far away from the rest of his army, but it was all held up by a really good charge from the Warboss. Held up a massive amount of stuff here. Hive Tyrant just got a little bit isolated, caught by sluggers who came in well and finished him off. Here comes some more looters. That might have been GG right there for Dullahan. We shall see, because these sluggers are level 3 and level 4 sluggers are freaking scary. 1878 hit points on these guys. The Knob Leader alone has like 350 hit points to level 1, I think, which is pretty nuts, and like 60 DPS power melee. There's the double, and Dullahan needs a plan of attack, but he doesn't have any resources to get anything new up. Maybe a really good Seismic Roar will turn this around. Termagants do finish the cap. There we go. So he has some range synapse. No, he doesn't have range synapse. Hormogaunts might want to try and flank around. Needs to try and target that Weird Boy. So difficult though when he can just use the Warp Vomit, and there's some zap, and all of that stuff is stuck together because of the suppression, so it's going to jump a couple of times at least. Here comes a War Truck, no doubt. At least one slugger's inside there, driving nice and close in behind, delivering double sluggers. Venom Brood just run the hell away, and here's a Burrow Strike, maybe. There we go, to save those Hormogaunts. Not really save them, they still got forced off. It does stun then when you come up from the enhanced muscle coil. Don't think I realised that. Down goes the Hive Tyrant again. The Warboss is just so scary. He's almost level 6. There's another Capillary Tower, but I think it's over for Dullahan. Oh, he's got a lot of resources now. Surely he's not going to try and get into tier 3. Down goes the War Truck though. Everything got inside it while it was out of control. This is very, very slowly out of control here. And down it goes. So, can Knoif Juggler hang on to 22 VPs? That is the question. He's certainly got the army for it. He's certainly got the Warboss for it. This guy's done so much work. Dullahan repurchases his Hive Tyrant again. It's really hurting his requisition having to do that. Is that the third loss or the second? I think it's the third. What can you do about that Warboss though? Is it worth getting a Barb Strangler Warrior Brood up here? It might be. And he has the red to drop one. So he needs 300 rec. He could drop a Warrior Brood to reinforce at a vital moment maybe and then give them the Barb Strangler. Would help slow down this Warboss and maybe catch both sluggers in a good shot too. We shall see. It is Stick Bombers on the way for Knoif Juggler. That's going to be pretty brutal. Can set up some really good charges with that. Weird Boy getting into melee combat with the Hive Tyrant. He's using the Warpath. That's why a lot of players will put their Weird Boy on melee stance when they have Warpath active to make him run towards targets without too much micro and stuff. Down goes a Brood Nest. Dullahan just trying to stall here. But what has he got in mind? He could go tier 3. Doesn't have a lot of power income. And what do you get? What do you do? 22 to 189. And these looters are so annoying. I mean, it's suicide just burrow striking your Ravenous in now. With double sluggers and that Warboss waiting to just tear them to shreds. Here are the Stick Bombers. Actually not bad in melee combat, these guys. They have 80 melee skill, which is tied with Genestealers as the most unbuffed. Only 4 models, 200 hit points each and some decent melee damage, but they do tend to die quite quickly since there's only 4 of them. But they can do a job for you in melee, especially tying up ranged units, getting off a bunch of special attacks and stuff. Big engagement now. There's a Seismic Roar. Knockback and damage with a little bit of damage over time left on the floor there. Hard Boys on the sluggers though. Oh, the Warboss is going to be taken down here, I think. Yes, Hive Tyrant getting in there and levels up, and now he's in retreat, I believe. Yes, I think that's a full retreat out. So took down the Warboss. Oh no, but loses the Hive Tyrant again. You might want to think about getting that, what's it called, extended carapace, so you can use it to charge out. Sluggers are really good at chasing it, it turns out. Weird Boy's level 4 now, wow. Up to 1800 hit points and 750 energy. Might seem a bit mad that he has that much energy, but that's because his abilities cost tons of energy to use, and he needs to use War to regenerate it quickly. Or rather, be around stuff that uses War. So there's a little bit of micro involved in maximizing this guy's potential with his energy management. Another push from Dullahan. Repurchases the Hive Tyrant yet again. Wants him on the field, that's for sure. Looks like his plan doesn't involve getting another unit unless the Hive Tyrant losses are kind of stopping him from getting what he wants. But I can't think of what he would want that he hasn't got already. It's not like he's going tier 3. Nothing in Tyranids tier 2 costs more than 450 requisition, right? Hive Tyrant's at level 4 now has improved Synapse, which will increase the health of the Hormagaunts, the Termagants and the Ravenous, and of course the Hive Tyrant himself. But he's run into double sluggers again, and now his shield's down, so he can't use the Seismic Roar. Is going to go down in retreat again. The Warboss, I think, is going to hold on. He got the decap. I'm not sure what he thinks is ridiculous. The damage of the sluggers, maybe? They are both level 4, and you ran into them. Not sure what he expected to happen there. Got the decap, though. It's a glimmer of hope. That's a bunch of stun bombs, which comedically land on their allied units. This is a warrior drop, I guess. It does damage when it lands, I think. Yeah. Now they can leap around and take out the Warboss. Maybe. Yes, he had Hard Boys. Almost got away there. Sluggers trying to get a decap on Dullahan's natural. Looks like they are going to get it. There we go. 22 to 86. Double cap. He's not lost a VP since he got down to 22 VPs. Does he repurchase the Warboss? Why not? Doing so much work. Almost level 7. Oh my god, just trying to get that VP down, I think. Here comes some stick bombers. What level are these Hormagods? They are level 4. We do have melee synapse warriors. Oh, use the choppers on the stick bombers. Those Warboss buffs have made a staggering difference. Those things alone might make the Warboss the best commander for getting a melee force together. We think of Gene Stealers as kings. I mean, I always think of Gene Stealers as kings, but when you factor in those Warboss buffs, he just has massive advantages. And quite rightly, he's a Warboss after all. It's double cap on Dullahan. There's a GG. And he does take the game, Knoif Juggler. Warboss was level 7 at the end, back on his feet. The Hive Tyrant, level 4 and down. Really enjoyable game for me. I love seeing melee stuff clashing. And that was awesome stuff. Slugger's doing a fantastic job. Both getting level 4. On their way to 2,000 hit points. But that Warboss wiping those Gene Stealers with that special attack. And help taking down that Tyrant Guard so quickly. That was one of the quickest Tyrant Guard wipes I've seen. You saw Dullahan kind of confidently stroll that Tyrant Guard into that Ork army. But it went down so fast. There you have it, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you next time.